And welcome everybody to the Open Hearted Practice Group on Monday, January the 30th, or Tuesday, January 31st, depending on where you're seated. And this is Jim and Jory. We're swimming through Maui. We've had about a foot or more of rain in the last few days. And it was just like stopped at the moment. But it's still really cloudy, and it's supposed to be cloudy for the next 2 days. I'll be looking forward to the sunshine. And I'm feeling happy to see you all and curious to find out what we'll learn today. How are you?
Yeah, it sounds similar to what's going on for me. I actually missed the water rising. It happened while I was sleeping. That was kind of nice, but I certainly know what it looks like when it happens.
Mm-hmm.
And mostly in this moment, there's delight to see you all. There's just as I look at each of your faces and I just celebrate that we get time to be together, that we have a technology that enables us to meet from all different corners of the US and beyond, and being in the middle of the Pacific Ocean where we live, it's especially sweet that we are all part of a community that really expands. And then what comes up for me is such appreciation for whatever you do to support the quality of connection and the well-being of people in the way that we're really pointing to, starting first with yourself and then whatever you can contribute. So thank you for being here. Thank you for being part of our what we call ohana in Hawaiian, which is our community. So sweet.
Extended family, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're a part of our family.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're here for the first time, a special warm welcome to you. I'll give you a little orientation of what we'll do today. We'll start in just a minute with me leading you in an opportunity to practice nonviolent communication just with yourself, just exploring your own direct experience of NVC, like self-empathy, self-compassion, something along those lines. Then while I'm doing that, Jory will be making small groups, and then we'll split into small groups for a few minutes.
Mm-hmm. And what I'd like to say about the small groups is if there is a language other than English that you prefer to be in, then I can put people together and you can speak in your mother tongue instead of trying to speak in a language that isn't as resonant for you, which is English, if English is not resonant for you. And if you can speak another language and you don't care, you can speak both really well. It's still helpful for me to know because there are some people who would really be gifted if you're willing to be in a room with them in your second language. So that's what I have to say about our groups.
And
go back to making them.
One last thing is, if you don't want to be in a small group, everything we do is optional because we want to honor your choice, your freedom. You can put an equal sign in front of your name, and then that lets us know that you prefer not to be in a small group. But that's where that's where the most fun things are, is a small group. So we really encourage you to do that. So after the small group, we'll come back here into the large group. We have a lesson prepared for you today around the idea of domination and submission in terms of how nonviolent communication relates to power. So we'll be looking at that with a couple of exercises today. And there'll be chances for you to do some writing. So if you have a journal that you like to write and practice with, it'd be a good time to get that. And after the writing, there'll be likely a chance to get into small groups and talk about what you learn as well with those. And at the very end, we've got some time reserved today, I think, for Sudha, if she's still, yeah, Sudha's still here, who's going to share about a project that we're excited about happening in India. And then we'll be finished in about 2 hours from now. So please take care of yourself during the 2 hours, which means if you need to get up and stretch your body or get a bathroom break or anything like that, feel free to take care of yourself because we really want you to honor your own needs. Okay, so let's go ahead and do a little self-connection exercise. I was talking to a friend today about the gift of hearing, and so I wanted to give us all a chance to enjoy this gift that we have. So if you're willing to close your eyes and just listen for a moment. And notice what you notice as you listen. Notice that you don't have much choice about what you listen to. It's just sounds come in, and your brain processes those sounds. It's different than vision, where you can turn your head and focus on something like reading a book or watching a show on TV or looking out the window. But with hearing, it's much more passive presence. You're just open. You have no idea what the next thing is that you're going to hear. So, what's it like to be in that uncertainty? Maybe this is what openness feels like. Just open to sense whatever comes in through your ears. If your brain is like mine, you might notice that besides just listening to the sounds, you might be labeling the sounds. That's something that human beings are really, really good at. So you might hear the bird song in the background. Maybe it's coming through the microphone, and you might even recognize the bird and label it. Like that's a cardinal. Just notice myself able to label certain birds. You might also notice thinking. It's kind of like the sound of your own voice inside your head. And sometimes that voice is that labeling voice. It's just making observations. And sometimes that voice adds in evaluation. There's nothing wrong with evaluation. We do it all the time. It'd be very hard to walk up the steps without evaluating the height of a step. But you might also notice moral judgments or moral evaluations of goodness or badness, rightness or wrongness, appropriate or inappropriate. Nothing wrong with that either. For me, though, it's important to notice when I'm doing it because it can get in the way of connection. Maybe you're judging me right now. Maybe you think this has gone on long enough, Jim. Let's move on with the class. Enough words already. Or could you just be quiet so I could listen to those birds? Or some other thought like that. So you just notice that thinking and take it as an opportunity to practice. And what I mean by practice is to first notice the thought and then follow the thought to the body. What's it like in your body right now when you talk to yourself that way? Just open to experience whatever sensations and emotions in your body that are present for you. Just allow yourself to feel whatever you feel, both sensations and emotions. These feelings are like signals that are giving you information about what's important to you. So, what's important to you about what you're hearing right now? Or about whatever else you're doing if you're not listening to me? What's important to you right now? This is a question that gets to needs, helps to point us towards needs. What do we value in the moment? And when you find a need, you can just enjoy having that need and connecting to it. Because once you're connected to a need, then you could consider what would contribute to that need, even more than right now. This is pointing to the idea of requests. What would make your life more wonderful today? And then we finish the exercise with just listening again. Just opening our heart to listen to ourselves, opening our ears and our heart to listen to the world. And you can just do the same exercise again on your own, starting with listening, going to the body, connecting to a need, and wondering what would make life more wonderful. If your eyes have been closed, I invite you to open them back up again. Since I closed my eyes, more people have shown up. I'm really glad that you're here. We're just about to go to small groups. Jory's made some small groups for you to connect with each other. The idea of what you do in the small group is you connect. It's your chance to practice the other two parts of nonviolent communication, empathy and honesty. Empathy is just the listening part. It doesn't require a mouth at all to do empathy. It just requires the same skill that you've been practicing for the last 10 minutes or so, just listening to one another. And then when it's your turn to speak, then you have a chance to share what's going on in you. You could share about this exercise, what you liked about it, what you learned from it, or you could share about anything else that's important to you. We're going to do this for about 10 minutes plus one at the end. So there'll be a total of 11 minutes. So everybody gets about three and a half minutes to connect. And then we'll all come back here together in 11 minutes. The timer will go down from 10. There'll be a little timer in the upper right-hand corner of your screen, and it'll count down from 10, and then there'll be 1 more minute at the end to finish up your conversations. No need to push any buttons. You can just sit on your hands and relax. Zoom will bring you back when it's time to come back. And you can always come back sooner if you want to, if you feel finished. Joy and I will stay here and connect with anybody who comes into the call after we start the small groups. So see you all back here in about 11 minutes.
Okay. Bye-bye. See you soon.
And we're zooming back. And this is the place where now we open up and find out if there's anybody that would like to share anything here in the large group. And I see one person who's demonstrating how to raise a hand, and that's Siva. And if you don't know how to raise your hand in Zoom, on the bottom of your screen, there's a little happy face with a plus sign growing out of the side of their head. And it says reactions. And if you click on that little icon, there's a place there where you can raise your hand. So Siva, what's alive in you? What would you like to share?
I would like to share a story that I learned in a meditation that I went to last night. And that is about the sunflower. And both of you, as I look at Jim and Joy, you look like you've been in the sun, and you both look beautiful. And so the sunflower, I learned, when the sun is out, the sunflower gets its energy from the sun. But what happens when there's no sun and it's dark? Then 2 sunflowers turn to each other and share the energy that they get from each other. And then one of the people in my small group said, and that's how we are, isn't it?
What a wonderful story. I have no idea whether it's true, but I believe you. It's going to be the truth for me. I love it. Turn my video camera off. That's our current Zoom picture, which is a sunflower with a bee on it. And so I really like the image of sunflowers turning to each other to share their warmth. Thank you, Siva. Where did you heard the story at a group last night? Do you remember the source of the story other than just hearing it at the group?
It's a long story.
Okay.
Well, I don't want to take the time to say it.
Okay, if you can let me know the source, that would be really fun for me.
You
Juliana?
can put that in the chat if you would.
Juliana?
Yeah. So just want to thank you, Jim, for the meditation.
We're having trouble hearing you, Juliana.
I always had a
Hang on just a second, Juliana.
Yeah, we can't hear you.
Can you turn your camera off for a second? You got a bad connection, I think.
Yeah, maybe we'll hear you better if you turn that off.
So I said, now can you hear me?
Yes, perfect.
Yes,
perfect.
better.
Can you?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Yeah. So I said thank you for the meditation because the first time I got a deeper insight into openness to my judgments, and I always used to have a resistance. Just pushing them away kind of thing. And for the first time I got this, be open to them and just notice that they come in the way of connection, and then follow them to the sensations in my body and, why is it important for me? And that was so beautiful. So just noticing that it comes in the way of connection, that was the new part. And thank you so much for that, Jim.
You're very welcome,
Yes.
Juliana.
You get me?
Yeah. And Aaron, go ahead.
So during the meditation about listening, you said something like we just listen to whatever is there. It's not like sight. You can look different places, but sound is just
Mhm.
I'm hearing whatever is there. And included in what's there is tinnitus for me, also pronounced tinnitus.
Tinnitus, yeah.
And I don't get to choose. It's not like I can turn my head one way and it's not there. So it's just
Right.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Probably other people on the call. I see a few other people nodding their heads.
Yeah.
You know, that we have this, it's like I want to answer the phone that's going off in my ear and I can't. It's just there. And I don't know if this is your experience, Aaron, but when I resist it, I don't like it. I'm trying to get away
Yeah.
from it or whatever. And then so I'm kind of adding my suffering to the actual experience. Other times I just accept it and at least it seems to disappear a little bit. And other times I don't notice it at
Right.
all. So I'm kind of puzzled by that. What's your
Yeah.
experience?
Well, it's interesting. Well, okay, so one thing is that the volume and the pitch does vary. So I actually keep a spreadsheet of in the morning and the evening, I track it.
Mhm.
Right now, it happens to be on the lower end of the volume scale. So that's one thing in my experience. Another, I actually went to a hearing aid place because I'm also have a little bit of a hearing loss.
Mhm.
And I talked to the person there about my tinnitus, and I said, sometimes when I'm just in a conversation with someone, I don't even notice it, even though it's there. She goes, well, in those moments that you don't notice, you don't have it. Like, and that's, I'm like, okay, well, that's true. Like sometimes I'll be like so engaged in something, and then that thing's done, and then I just notice it again, like, but it was there the whole time.
Yeah.
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 It's interesting.
Were you gonna say something, Jory?
Yeah, just that where we put our attention makes such a big difference. So I was just acknowledging that experience. Yeah.
Yeah, there's this concept
Yeah.
that is, I think I don't know where the original root of it was, but it became kind of part of modern culture in the 1940s or 50s. But there's an old concept in neuroscience called 7 plus or minus 2. And the number 7 plus or minus 2 refers to how many bits of information a human being can pay attention to in any given moment. And that's why your phone number has 7 digits. The original American phone numbers were 7 digits, 3 at the beginning and 4 at the end. And then they added the area codes in the last few years.
Okay.
But now, when you think about it, now it's back down to 3 bits because most people can remember their area code and their first few digits. Actually, nobody remembers a phone number anymore anyway. We just rely on our iPhones. But the point is that
Old school, huh?
but the point is, because of the limitation of our neurology, we can't pay attention to very much. There's 10 million
Yeah.
bits of information available to us, including the sound of our ringing in our ears. And when we're really
Right.
focused on something else, that recedes into the background. Yeah,
Right.
it's so cool that you're tracking it. It'd be interesting to see what you learn as you keep tracking it.
Yeah, I don't know if there's anything useful for tracking it, but it was advised to me from a homeopathic homeopath, which I actually don't believe in, but that person said, track it and then come to me in a month with what you've tracked and I'll prescribe something. I did. She prescribed something. It didn't work,
Oh.
but I still keep tracking kind of out of habit and just out of curiosity, so I can kind of see.
We need to work on strengthening your placebo effect.
Right.
Yeah.
If it would work, that'd be great.
Yeah. I'm a big believer in the placebo effect.
Would you tell them what a
Placebo effect is the
I know what it is.
No, you do, but
maybe
I'm
others
not
don't.
sure
Yeah.
everybody does.
The placebo effect is this idea that things have an effect on our biology, even though they shouldn't, based on anything that's you know present in the biology of things. And they use it as a test for when they test drugs. A drug before it's released into the market has to be better than a placebo. And it's remarkable that most drugs that are tested are not better than placebos. And so most drugs that are developed are never released, for better or worse. Okay, anybody else got anything to say
That's
before
true.
we move into the class for today? Thank you, Aaron, for sharing your experience.
Thank you.
Now I'm hyper aware of the ringing in my ears, probably from being a rock drummer for the last 30 years or 40 years or whatever it's been. Okay, so let's move into the class. Anything you wanted to say before we do that, Jory?
No, let's move into the class.
Okay, so I'm going to share my screen with you. Here it is. So we've been working on iGiraffe, and last week we did part one of the class that we're working on today. So we're working on this idea of refusing submission. And last week we focused on how we can work on our own urge to demand something of somebody else. And a demand in nonviolent communication language, a demand means that it's something that we ask somebody else to do, and if they don't comply, we punish them. That's what a demand means. It has nothing to do with tone. It has nothing to do with how we say it or what we say. It has to do with what happens if the other person doesn't do what we want. And if we want to punish them, or if we do punish them, or if there's coercion involved or any kind of violence like that, then that's what we call a demand. And today we're going
And I just want to add that piece of that if they don't do what we want them to do, it also lets us know it's demand if we are now in pain and, throwing arrows at ourselves or them about that.
no matter where whoever the punishment is directed towards, it's still a demand.
Right, exactly.
So today we're going to work on what happens when we think we hear a demand from somebody else. So think of a relationship where you sense you have less power than the other person, which is what we did last week. So it could be a parent-child relationship. It could be an adult child with an elder parent. It could be a boss or an employee or some other relationship. But in this case, you have the idea that you have less power than the other person. So this relates to the concept that we introduced last week, which was asymmetrical power. And this means that one party can make a decision that affects the other, but the opposite's not true. So for example, if Jory was my boss,
I am.
yeah, and she can decide how much to pay me for the work that I give her, but I can't decide how much she gets paid. That's an example of asymmetrical power. She can decide to fire me as my boss, but I can't decide to fire her. I can quit, but I can't fire her. So that's what we mean by asymmetrical power. So think of a situation where you think you have less power than the other person, and just write down what that relationship is. You don't have to name any names, and you won't have to necessarily share this with anybody unless you choose to.
It can be, okay. I'm just thinking of something or no.
No. So one example would be, let's say that I'm driving down the road in my car, and there's a police car behind me with lights flashing. Okay, so the relationship is cop or police officer and driver. And I certainly experience less power in that situation than the cop has. And then, what's the specific example of what you have to do in that relationship? They tell you to do something. What's an example of what they tell you to do? So the flashing red lights in the car behind me tell me I have to pull over.
Or else.
Look at there.
No, okay.
So what do you have to do? You fill in the blank. I have to. Then what do you predict happens if you don't comply with what the other person tells you have to do? What's the or else? I have to pull over my car, or else, oh my, or else they'll set up a roadblock in front of me and they'll arrest me and they'll put me in handcuffs and they'll take me out off to jail.
Yeah, maybe.
So I better pull over. I have to. So what's it for you? What's the threat? If you don't comply, what's the worst thing that could happen?
I have to, whatever it is, or else.
My prediction is if I told you to make 100 examples of this, you could probably do it. But we'll only work with one example. But this is the social situation, the social system that we live in. We've been trained ever since we were very small human beings that we have to do certain things, and if we don't do them, we're going to get punished. And so it's very deep in us. Now we're going to question to see if it's true. We're going to find out if nonviolent communication offers an alternative way to look at this. This is the definition of submission. I have to.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we mean when we say submission. I have to do it or else I'll be punished. So now we're going to call it into question. We're going to assume that we're not sure if that's true. We act as if it's true every day. In fact, just to find out how deep it is in your body, say it to yourself 3 times. I have to, fill in the blank, or else, fill in the blank. Say it to yourself 3 times.
They went away.
And then who would be willing to share that hasn't shared yet? Oops. Who would be willing to share what you notice in your body when you talk to yourself like that? What do you notice in your body when you talk to yourself in a language of have to or else. You can put it either into the chat or you can raise your hand. Amalia, go ahead. Thank you for raising your hand.
Hi everyone, thank you for having me. It's for me, it's I have to accept somebody not paying my work. So, and whenever I mentioned that even I thought I come to peace with that, still I feel my stomach like crumbling. I still feel it's unfair.
Yeah.
But even I'm trying to accept and not feel stress and all that. And I think I have to, because unless I go and kill the person, I'm just kidding.
Does anybody else notice a
otherwise,
constriction? Anybody else notice a constriction in your body, especially in your stomach when you talk to yourself like this?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Look, you've got company, Amalia.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening.
Yeah.
I really appreciate for letting me share. Thanks a lot.
Thanks for sharing.
Yeah. Nice to hear your voice.
Zoom thinks I raised my hand. I'm going to put my own
Nice
hand
to
down.
be here.
Whoops.
And who else just put your hand down? Somebody else had their hand up. Go ahead.
Is that Carolyn? Did you?
I don't remember. It flashed by. Maybe they
Okay.
changed their mind. Oh, go ahead, Jeanette.
Hi there. I begin to feel unease and anxious and not safe.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Unease, anxious, unsafe.
Mm-hmm.
And Rena writes in the chat, resistance, tightness, I cringe. Even if I want to do it, I feel angry, having the impression that I'm forced to.
Yeah.
Anxious, resentment. Okay, good. Anybody else have anything you'd like to
I
share?
just want to share that I have to go to the dentist tomorrow. And what I feel is this turn in my stomach.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So how we talk to ourselves matters. And so we're gonna let's now heal at least one little piece of submission. So we're gonna discover what your need is. So cross out the have to and write I choose to instead. So the behavior stays the same. I choose to pull over the car,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
but it's no longer out of or else. I'm going to get rid of the or else. I'm going to cross that off. And I'm going to say, because something is important to me.
So in my case, I choose to go to the dentist because my well-being is important to me.
Yeah. And I choose to pull over my car for the police officer because my freedom is important to me. And so is respect for authority, by the way. So both freedom and respect are important to me. So often if you look at the threat, it'll point you directly to your need. That's the beauty of this particular practice.
Mm-hmm.
When you focus on the threat, the or else, that's going to be pointing directly to the need. So if or else is I'll lose my job, then your financial well-being is likely important to you.
Yeah, and you can actually drill down with that. So I have to go to the dentist or else I will lose my teeth. Okay, so if I lose my teeth, what's underneath that? Then, well, I'll have fewer access to use my teeth in my mouth. And if I have fewer access to use my mouth, what's underneath that? And it's actually my well-being as I sit here and see that it really is my well-being. And I notice in my body like a relaxation as I get to that. So do that for yourself and notice when you get to, yeah, that's what's important. That's what really matters.
So I'm going to put a needs list up because some of the folks on the call are relatively new to NVC. And sometimes it's helpful to look at a needs list. You certainly don't need to go by what's on this list, but sometimes it's helpful to help to grow your vocabulary.
Yeah, and also to get to that place to see if there's a word that really resonates. Yeah, that's it, where you can actually land there. Or maybe it's a different word than what you see there, but that helps sometimes to find it. You got the wheel for that
I'm
one?
coming right up here. I got, here it goes. Okay, sharing the screen with you now, and we'll be quiet for a couple minutes while you just kind of look at this screen.
And also work with being with yourself and just really allowing yourself to feel whatever you feel until you get grounded into why it matters. What's the underlying universal human need that is there for you?
I choose to, whatever the behavior is, because blank is important to me.
So fill in the blank, and here are some words. It doesn't have to be these words, so you can feel free to put a word into the chat that may be different than this, or the same if you'd like.
Anybody need some help in discovering their need? You can raise your hand or just speak up if you feel a little stuck.
Or if it's sort of questionable for you, if you're not quite landed.
Okay, not seeing any hands. Then now say the new sentence to yourself. I choose to fill in the blank with whatever it is because blank is important to me. And say that to yourself 3 times. So I choose to be quiet because listening and connection is important to me. Go ahead, Isabel.
I am just wanting to find if that need is indeed the need or if there is a need behind that. My situation is that my husband and I, I started with I have to listen and agree with him, or else he gets angry and punitive. not physically, but there is always some repercussion of not agreeing with him. And then I'm thinking, what is the need behind it? And I'm thinking safety, protection. And I feel only sorrow fill my heart rather than the of relief. So then I'm going fishing for the next. So how does safety and protection help me? It helps me bring harmony. It gives me a sense of togetherness. It gives me a sense of peace in the family. So which one do I land with? Do I need to go seeking for what gives me the relief, or do I stay with the safety?
Yeah,
That's my question.
it's really what really lands for you. For me, my experience of finding the need is okay. So it's a need for safety. It's a need for connection, and if I had that, what's underneath that, and if I had that, what's underneath that, until the body just really goes, oh yeah, that's what matters. So just follow it for yourself and see where you actually land with that
And the might show up as sorrow.
Yeah.
Mourning is a kind of shift that's different than anger or fear, right?
So that's
So
why I wonder, do I stop where I'm feeling the sorrow, which is the safety, protection? That's my choice.
yeah,
But
Yes.
I feel only sorrow. So that's
Yeah.
where I was following until I went to the and the relief of the joy.
yeah.
So should I mean, there's no should, of course, but where you are guiding us, is it to the place where we feel our need fulfills and gives us the relief, or do we stay with the first need?
I would say yes.
So I would say what is the first, what is the one that so far you connect to?
So togetherness is where I landed at
Okay.
last. Being
if-
together, being
Right. And if you have togetherness, what's the deeper meaning of that for you?
being a family, that matters a lot to me. But behind it all, of course, is my safety and protection. I don't want to be alone in the world. And he is the closest family to me. It matters to me that we're okay with each other, even if I don't get to say some of my thoughts. So that's the cost.
Yeah.
That makes
So-
me sad.
Yeah, that's the
Yeah,
sad part for
That's
you.
the sad part. So, protecting the family. And if you protected the family, is there a deeper meaning underneath that?
Yeah, there is the hope. There's the future of being together, not being alone.
Yeah. So, if you're not alone, is there a deeper peace underneath that?
I think it comes back to safety.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just to keep asking yourself that until you actually get what I think, based on the way you just said that, you arrive. You go, yeah, that's it. So you keep drilling down. If I had that, then what would I have? Until you get to that aha. Yeah.
Thank you.
And
Mary. It's
one other
funny that I
hint.
started with safety. Yeah.
Go ahead, Isabel. Go ahead.
What did you say, Isabel?
It's just interesting that I started with safety and I only felt sorrow, and I ended with safety as well. That's very interesting.
Right,
yeah.
right. But you stayed with it. And that is such an, I really appreciate you speaking up, because that's a really important part of this process, is to stay with it until you can get to that place where you land. Of course, this matters. This is what's important. So thank you for demonstrating that. It's a really important part of the process.
In self-empathy, this is a self-empathy practice, right? Self-empathy is about not trying to change how we feel. It's about rather noticing how we feel and accepting how we feel, recognizing that something else is going to come up soon. And I know Isabel. I've known Isabel for almost probably 10 years now. And I know that English is not her first language. And so when people are not, you're practicing NVC in English, your shift may actually happen in Korean. As you kind of go through the same unpeeling process, you might just get to a different layer of self-connection by going home to the language that you were taught to by your mama when you were inside her belly. You know, that's where we learn this language of needs first. Yeah. Yeah. You're welcome. And Siva, go ahead.
I apologize for taking up so much time, but I want to echo what Jory said to you, Isabel, because I saw you were here. I was hoping, I was praying that you would ask the question, because that brings out the best in Jory and Jim. And it helps all of us. So further than that, I want you to be, if you're not already thinking about it, getting the certification to be an NVC trainer, you certainly have what it takes to be successful.
Thanks.
Thank
Go ahead,
you.
Isabel. Did you
know
want to
that's-
respond? Go ahead, Isabel.
Yeah, Siva, how did you know that's something big in my mind that I'm almost giving up right now? You bring me to tears. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you. And
Lynn, you need to unmute yourself.
the mouth's moving, but we can't hear you. There you go.
Okay.
Yeah. Good to hear your voice.
Thank you. I've had trouble figuring out what my need is. And what I came up with is autonomy.
Mhm.
And what I got from that, I didn't write the other words underneath it, so I'm not sure.
Mhm. So if you have autonomy, is there a deeper meaning? Is there something underneath that? Just notice. Or maybe with autonomy, you have that sense of, yeah, this is it. This is what matters.
Could you put the chart up again? And then I would see what's under it, if
Sure.
that's no.
Mhm.
Thank
Yep.
you.
And while you hang out with it, we'll
Okay.
Yeah, we can come back to you, but we'll go ahead and move on to
Aaron.
Aaron. Go ahead.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so I have a question. I'll tell you just for framing, the situation that I put is that the landlord of the apartment building I live in, the landlord can raise the rent and I can't lower the rent. So I choose to pay the rent because I value ease, I value housing, I value having good credit, I value, and then, okay, here's the part. I value contributing to the peace of mind of the owners and the people who work at the property management company. So I put that because that's kind of an identity thing, like something I kind of know myself as someone who enjoys contributing to others. I'm like, oh, well, here I am contributing to others. But it feels kind of inauthentic in this situation because there's been some things that the owners and people in the property management company have done and things that I want them to do that they haven't done that actually leaves me with some upset. I'll leave it at that kind of broad term. So it kind of, there's some barrier to my actually being in touch with that. When I'm paying rent, I am contributing to their peace of mind, I imagine, versus if I didn't pay rent, there'd be something for them to deal with.
Yeah.
And contributing to their financial sustainability for, so there's things that I value contributing. And yet when I wrote that, it's like, I just wrote it because, well, yeah, conceptually, I like contributing to these
Of course
people.
you do.
Right.
Yeah.
But it on the court, like in the actual living of life, like there's some barrier there. So what's my question? My question
I'm
is,
guessing. Your question. Go ahead.
that was just for framing of the question. And this is kind of a big question, is what is it about being human? I'm sure I'm not alone in this, that when a person is upset with someone, that the joy of giving to that person there's a barrier to experiencing the joy for giving,
That's right.
for giving to that person. And like, this might be the source of like spite and, people wanting to get revenge and, do things to be like, see what I'm saying? So why don't I feel this joy out of contributing to them?
You answered your own question. You answered your own question perfectly. It's because how I interpret it based on my own experience is, yes, I'm choosing to pay my mortgage or my rent or whatever it is because I value contribution, and I'm noticing it's coming with a little bit of a hook, and that hook is resentment.
Mm-hmm.
There's some kind of, I'm resenting the cost increase, or the other things that have happened in the past that didn't meet my needs. I never got the empathy that I needed about that. And so the choicefulness of I'm choosing to say yes to this rent increase is also coming with a little side serving of resentment. And there's nothing wrong with resentment. It's just a clue that there's a need for more empathy, that there are other needs that haven't been honored for you, that maybe from the past pain. So that's what comes up for me about it. So that's how I would answer the question. You have anything you would add?
I'd like to hear from Aaron first, but
Sure.
yeah, then I would add something. Yeah.
What do you want to hear from me? If
you want
Jim
to
said,
respond to what he said, I want to make sure.
oh yeah. I mean, I don't know if it answers the question, but I mean, it's valid. I guess, like, why can't I just feel joy? Why don't people just feel joy about something that would normally give them joy when there's some other unmet need?
Mm-hmm.
Someone, quote unquote, did something wrong or that they didn't like, and now suddenly giving to that person is no longer fun anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Why can't it still be fun, regardless of what
I
the
hear
other
your
person
warning about
does?
that.
And I'm guessing still there's something underneath there to connect to. Why do you pay the rent?
Well, the first ones, they really resonated as true. And I value ease. Like, yeah, I could like
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
put up some.
And so really, you're choosing to pay the rent because there's ease there. And I wonder if there's anything
Yeah,
under.
and I want to stay in my housing. I don't want to deal with an eviction. I want to have good credit.
Mm-hmm.
All the things that I said.
If you get all of those things, is there a deeper meaning to that?
Well, just more real estate, no pun intended, for focusing on other things that are important to me.
Sure.
Like it's kind of foundational. Get your housing in place, have integrity with that, and if I don't have that handled, it would take up a lot of time and energy and focus and kind of dominate my whole life.
So I wonder if, if you keep going down, it's about ease and security.
Mhm.
Just check.
Ease and security, sure.
Yeah. But is there anything else underneath that, though, that you also notice? If you have that security, what's the deeper meaning of that for you?
If I have the security, is there something?
Is there something else underneath that that's even more important? Or is that really where you land? That's at the heart of it.
I mean, it's peace of mind.
Peace of mind.
Peace of mind. Yeah, we all
And
need.
there's something about there is there is something about identity. Like I don't have to have a home. I mean, there's people that don't, and some people that don't have a home live well. I could be one of those people, but it being consistent with my identity,
Mhm. Yeah.
if that
So
makes sense.
You choose to make this choice because it is resonant with you. It connects to your identity, to your being, your need for acknowledgement of just being a human being. Is that it?
Yeah, there's something. There's a Mr. Rogers song. I like to have a place of my own, a place where I can be by myself, a window. Yes, I don't know the whole song, and I'm not going to sing it in the interest of time. But there's something about just a place to call that's in the whole world, where the vastness of the world, that there's one place that is my home base.
That level.
Aside from that, it provides me shelter and a place to prepare meals and all that. There's just having a home base.
Yeah, I'm guessing it's something like freedom to be yourself, freedom to have that care.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just notice that when you touch that into freedom, just sit with that a bit and see if that really is at the heart of it. But give it a little bit more time on your own to see if maybe even there's something underneath that. Maybe not. Maybe that's just it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think like the heart of the question that I had before is it possible to enjoy? I guess I'm not. I don't even know if I'm looking for an answer from either of you, Jim or Joy. But maybe there's a question of myself, and just to kind of live from this question is like, can I generate satisfaction and joy from the part of paying my rent? That I'm contributing to the financial sustainability of the owners and the property management company, and contributing to their peace of mind, despite the things that they've done and not done that I don't like. Like, can I generate joy for myself out of contributing to their needs being met anyway?
I love your
As
question.
I asked that question, I'm like, you know what? Why not?
Yeah, why
I
not?
think I can.
So here's how you might work with that question, and then I want to go on to Rasha. But what if you have a have to there? I have to enjoy contributing. I have to feel joy when I contribute.
Well, there you go. Because I think the have to-ness, when I wrote it down, there was kind of a have to energy, because like, well, I'm supposed to, like, this is something I'm supposed to enjoy because it's one of those identity things. I have to be true to myself and enjoy contributing to others. But when you ask that question, Jim, it's like, well, I don't have to, but I can.
Yeah,
It's an option.
So you could just try following the same pattern again with that have to. I have to or else,
Yeah.
and I choose to because, and see what you learn, and maybe you'll find a new answer to your question. I'd love to find out what you learn. And I see 3 other hands up, and I want to make sure that we get to small groups. So Rasha, and then Estella, and then Kimberly, then we'll go to small groups.
Yeah, I will try to be as fast as possible. Just one comment to Aaron. You don't have to answer it, but I was wondering why you are relating it to the contribution to the tenants. This is a point that I was wondering as you were talking,
You mean the
not the
landlord?
contribution to your life or to fulfill a need in you.
Oh, well, I had a whole list. And
Okay.
the first ones were for me, but then I was also going, well, there's also the joy of contributing to them when I pay my rent.
Okay, makes sense.
Yeah.
So for me,
Yeah.
it was, my question was about is, yes, I decided to change it instead of I have to into I choose to, but I was still feeling a bit of tension, even though I can tell what is the need beneath it, but I still have the tension. So my scenario was, it was my real life scenario with my boss. I'm doing masters and I was doing a full-time job, and I did not like my job that much, but for the financial security, I was committed to doing my job on top of being engaged with my master's multiple requirements. But even though knowing why I'm doing that was still putting an extra pressure, maybe it's also the style of management that was forced on me, which is a micromanagement that was putting an additional pressure on me, even though I know the need and why I choose to do that instead of I have to. It was not fulfilling me. It was not satisfying me. I still have the pressure, and at the end, despite all the tension and the pressure I had, I don't know if it was so showing that I was not really enjoying what I was doing. They laid me off with no cause. And that was an additional pressure. I don't know if I regretted doing it despite the tension and no enjoyment behind it. And how we can deal with this. Like, even if you identify the need and you decided to choose to do it instead of having to do it, but you're still not happy.
Sure.
Right.
What can you do?
It's the situation is what we're working with is to really get clear on why we make the choice we make, but that doesn't negate that there are still some other needs that arise or some mourning that arises
Or
as
other
well.
choices. This is only if you choose to say yes. If we have time today, we'll get to choosing to say no. And that's also there. Don't ever think that just because you're choosing to do it today, that means you have to choose to do it tomorrow or the next moment. So life, the way I look at it, life conspires to give you the feedback that you need in order to keep moving towards getting more needs met at less cost. And that seems like that's what happened to you, Rasha. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And then
Estella?
Okay, hi. So my situation is that I'm taking a training right now, and it's very intensive. It's 6 days and it's about 11-hour days. And I find myself like having to like push through it. And because I want to get the certificate at the end. So I'm interested in the learning and in the skills. And in order to do so, I have to fully participate. And there's certain things that we all have to do in the class. And as I'm doing this, I'm just feeling like I'm not feeling engaged. And at first I was thinking, well, it's the way that things are presented, and a lot of needs are going unmet. And I guess I'm telling myself I have to shut down my needs in order to just stick it out and finish the class. And I realized that I'm really wanting like connection with everybody, like for my learning. So I thought it was connection. I thought it was that I wanted to connect with people's feelings and needs, but I realized as this, I'm just realizing other things, that I want to be seen, for my own experiences, and I want to be seen for my needs and appreciated for my interest in contributing to others. And none of that gets acknowledged. And I just shut down when I try to show up, you know, in what's alive in me. And then there's like no validation. There's nothing. I just shut down.
Sure. So what I'm catching, Estella, is that as you unpeeled your experience here, you discovered more needs that currently
Yeah.
you're mourning that these needs are not met.
Mhm.
And so the idea here, this relates also to maybe what Aaron was pointing to, that sometimes we touch this sorrow or sadness, or Marshall Rosenberg called it sweet pain, the sweet pain of unmet needs. And then the advice is you stay there. You just stay with that pain, and you savor the needs that are underneath that pain. And then life, you know, the life moving in you will come up with a request for you to consider. Doesn't mean you have to fulfill the request. Might be 5, 6, 7 different requests. But as you stay in mourning, I would usually say mourning is the middle. So you stay with the mourning, the unmet needs, and see what comes up, and see if there's another request that arises. Does that make sense to you, Estella?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Kimberly.
Mm.
Hello. I came late. I'm very, very tired, but I kind of feel like the exercise is speaking to me, even though I wasn't really able to do it properly. And a lot of what everybody said I relate to. So I've been in what I would consider to be a stranglehold in an ongoing battle with my ex-husband. And there's, you know, today it kind of came down to, like, we went to court and I've been fighting real hard, and he's been doing things like taking money and lying. And so justice really rang true for me as a need of why I keep showing up and why I keep fighting, and I'm representing myself, and he has quite a bit more money than me, but it also just feels so much like a stranglehold. Like, it really isn't a choice. I don't have a choice. I don't have a choice. So even though I approach the exercise sort of from the side door, I see that, of course, I mean, I don't want to lose my house and my daughter's here with me, but I guess I'm just looking for a little feedback or guidance, and I'm definitely in grief. I went to court today, and I feel like they're sort of beginning to lay on their sword, and it was so interesting. I felt like crap afterwards. I felt like I was so in touch with the ugliness of the whole affair. You know, like everything, all the years, all the pain, and this is the end. And, you know, to be in an unfamiliar, I think to be in a courthouse with a person who you've shared more than half your life with is so bizarre to begin with. And being in a courthouse, you feel like a criminal.
Kimberly, excuse me. I'm feeling a little. I'm really wanting to make sure you get the connection that you need here, and I'm also worried about everybody else here. And so I've got a suggestion. I want to see if you're willing. I've got small groups, and I'd like to put you into a small group with another certified trainer for the next 15 minutes. So maybe you can get just a little bit of empathy about this. It sounds like it's really present for you. Would that work for you?
Sure.
Okay, great. And Mary, can you hold your question until we come back from the small group?
I don't have a question. I have a sharing. I really like to share, very short. I want to say that it's a journey from I have to or else to transform to I choose to. And for me, I really feel that's so powerful when we grow from the victim side to the responsible side. It's a journey. I choose to, at that moment, you may sorrow, you may feel sad for lots of other important needs which are not met, but it's the best choice at the moment, and it helps us the best at this moment to walk to the next moment of our journey. I just want to comment that.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you. That resonates for me very much. Okay, I'm going to open up small groups for everyone. The timer will say 14 minutes. And this will be a chance for you to get a little empathy if you need empathy, to share what your own experience is as you've tried to unpeel your needs here, maybe get some help from friends if you ask for it. But again, a chance to practice honesty so that you can share your own experience and then to be present in empathy for everyone else. Okay, and so we'll go ahead and start the groups now. And here we go. Okay, Jerome, you've been very patient. And
some people who are still stuck, like
yeah, I'm watching them. Let's see here. We get a couple more people straightened away here.
Please, before we do that.
Okay, I think I've got everybody else is here.
She'll move.
She's moved.
Okay, but she's not prone. Okay, well, you did the best you could. And Mina, is she in a room?
She is not going, so she's okay. Go ahead, Jerome.
Yeah, what I did was
okay.
Okay, well.
So I want to check back in with Lynn because we left you hanging a little while ago, searching for your needs, Lynn, and I wonder if there's anything that you discovered.
No, there's.
She's right here. Need
there you are.
Need to unmute yourself.
Okay.
There you go.
I did. In my group, I don't know if there's a word for this, but I related that I felt sneaky because I amended what my doctor said and I used power, but I just said I'm not doing it to the person who works for me. And what I was looking for was peace of mind and survival. That was the bottom line for me,
Bottom
survival.
line. Perfect. Perfect.
Yeah, when you land, huh? Well,
Thank you.
It. Thank you.
Got time for a couple of more reports from anybody? Anything that you learned in the small group? Anybody get more connected to your needs? You can put it in either into the chat or you can go ahead, Don. I see your hand. We'll go to Don first and then Jeff.
Yeah, it was just two of us in the group, and we had some connection through Modesto. But I really, boiling it down helped me get clear and feel and aware of that our needs and values are expressed in our choices, and then the consciousness of choosing to be choosing rather than feeling and saying, oh, I have to break the wheel or whatever the thing is. So those were two really nice awareness awakenings that I and we had in the small group just now. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing your celebration. Jeff.
Yeah, thank you. I just really enjoyed the experience of drilling down deeper, and thank you, Jory, for saying it again. I need to hear it over and over again, how to and if I have that, then what will that mean for me? And I just need to learn that process. And I thought I had arrived at bedrock, and I was like, if I do this, then that, if I choose this, then that. And I came down the last two where I'll have acceptance. If I have acceptance and security, then I'll be safe. Like within myself, I'll experience safety and I'll be a safe person for others to be around.
Yeah.
And then thank you to Lucy in our group, because she just said, because then you'll be able to show love. And I was like, no, I can't go any deeper. Don't make me go deeper.
Yeah.
Anyway,
And maybe
that
that's
really
not
touched something in me.
yeah. And then maybe that's just not what's alive in you. You know what's really at the depth of it for you. And the beauty of
It was to show love.
Ah, okay.
It was to show love. Thank you for the experience. It's fun to do this.
Wonderful.
I love it when it's fun.
And
Corey.
Yeah, we had fun in our group too. And at the end, so I was talking about getting rid of things like books that I have kept for years and I don't read, and clothes that I don't wear, things like that. And so the should was like, I should give those away to a thrift store so other people can use them, and the thrift store can make some money, and they're actually in circulation. And I'm still somewhat attached to them because they're like my friends, so some books. And so I was struggling a little bit with that. And there was a kind of a should energy there. And I was listening to you, Jory, say with various people, kind of like what's beneath that, what's beneath that. And that was so I was doing that in my own mind. And then I got to the underlying need, freedom. I thought, oh, I'll be free of all this. I won't have to think about it, move them around when I move. And I'm not really using them anyway, even though I've loved books and various clothes. And I thought, but somehow that need was so sweet, it overrode the discomfort of letting go, because there is a little bit of mourning, a little bit of loss. But yeah, that was about freedom. So thank you. That was so helpful. So helpful to just keep digging, like Jeff said. And then we all kind of had a laugh because the women in the group were talking about how hard it is for us to let go of clothes. And the man in the group said, no problem with that. But for him, it's tools and machines and what else? Technology. And like, I want 3 of those, even though I don't use them. And we just had a good laugh.
Sounds
Thank
fun.
you.
Sounds fun.
Yeah.
All right. And we'll finish up with Aaron, and then we have a special treat. Go ahead, Aaron.
Yes. So in our small group, we actually talked about the question that I asked about what gets in the way of experiencing joy of giving to someone when that someone has done something that one doesn't like. And what we looked at is actually Tanya. Sorry if is it okay I said your name, Tanya? Use the word freedom. And that really resonated. I asked her to kind of explain, but when she explained, it was very resonant. And what I got from that is it's about the freedom of self-expression, like just as a matter of personal integrity and being true to myself, saying which is self-expression and personal integrity is different from identity, what I was talking about before. Like identity is more like being attached to something, like the should energy, like I have to. Self-expression is like the joy of being myself and being free to be myself.
Nice.
And there's something also resonant with the principles of nonviolence, which is, this is NVC, nonviolent communication, and loving your enemy, quote unquote enemy. And another thing that kind of came up for me, I'm not religious and I'm not Christian, but there's something from Christianity, which is turn the other cheek. Someone hits you on one cheek, you turn your head so they can hit the other cheek. So that, which I'm sorry if I'm getting this wrong, because I don't really, again, I'm not Christian, but my understanding of that is it's about being true to yourself. It's about saying, I'm not going to let someone hitting me turn me into someone who is hateful and having revenge. I'm still going to love the person that hit me.
Yeah.
And then also, yeah, there's things this person did that I don't like, and that's its own issue, and that's something to deal with on its own, but have that be separated from this is a human being, and a self-expression of mine is I enjoy contributing to human beings.
Wonderful.
So freedom and
Freedom.
self-expression.
That
Freedom and
gift to
self-expression.
yourself. Yes.
Thank you,
Beautiful.
Erin. So glad for your participation today, and have you
Well, thank you.
tie the bow up for us here at the end with your presence. And I want to turn the microphone over now to Sudha. Sudha is a friend of mine and colleague from India. Sudha, what would you like to share with us today?
Hey, Sudha.
Oops, you're still muted.
Yeah, thank you for giving me the space, Jim. So what I wanted to share with all of us here is two things. One is an invitation, and the other is an appeal. In India, we have for the last over 10 years a tradition or a way of having an NVC convention, which lasts between 5 and 6 days. And this year, so a bunch of us got together and formed a trust called the NVC Trust. And the vision is about encouraging the spread of NVC and also to encourage the emergence of certified trainers. And this year, we are having our convention on the 3rd of April. Just before that, we have a mentoring and assessment track for people who are interested in certification, etc. And we have 3 people who are on the pre-assessment at the pre-assessment stage. So the first is an invitation to as many of you as possible who would be willing to come to India and spend time with us in April. And I'll share the details in the chat here. And the second is because we want to offer scholarships to at least 20 people, this is an appeal to an attempt at asking for funds in order to be able to sponsor people for the convention. There are many people who would like to come and are not in a position to pay the convention costs. At the trust, we are volunteers, and we are basically, that's the spirit with which we have formed the trust. And so I would be so happy, and Jim agreed to support us in this project. And so that's my big appeal to all of you. Whatever is in your capacity to give willingly and joyfully, we are happy to receive. And it will go into seeing that more and more people attend the convention. And I have a poster of the convention here, which you may want to look at. There are details. Any of you who wants to know more about this, there's the website detail, and we have all the details there in the website.
Wonderful, Sudha. I wish I could come this year. I've been to one of these NVC conventions in India. It was at once one of the most joyful experiences of my life and one of the hardest things I've ever done. And so it really helps me to have empathy for you, Erin, to know that experience that you were talking to have a mixture of sorrow and joy. But I really want to support this event and the certified trainers emerging in India. India is a country of course, more than 1 billion people, almost 1.5 billion people. And I think we have about 10 trainers now. We need about 1 million trainers in India. And so I really love that the India Trust is doing this work. And so if you want to donate some funds to this, Jory and I will match anything that you send to us on our PayPal account. We'll match it. So if you give $100, we'll give $100. So you can kind of double your gift. And I'll put my PayPal address into the chat here for you, so that there's 2 different ways you can use PayPal. One is a quick link, and if that doesn't work, then you can always use the regular longer link. And we'll probably be asking for this for the next few weeks, because it's such an important project to me. I'm very grateful for your previous support with other projects, and this one really has a particular strong place in my heart because of that trip to India, and because of my friends there that are certified trainer candidates and certified trainers. And those of you who have been coming here to this group know that Sudha is here almost every time, getting up early in the morning to come. Purva's here every week. Juliana's here every week. And Reena's here almost every week, you know, so there's this huge hunger for learning and growing NVC in India. So I really want to support this project. So if you're willing to help us, like I said, we'll be willing to match your gifts. And if you have any questions about that, please write to me, and I'll be glad to answer your questions, and so would Sudha. So thank you, Sudha, for sharing this. Anything else you want to say to finish up?
Thank you. No, thank you so much. I'm so deeply touched by the support that I'm receiving. Thank you.
And thank you for all you're doing, Sudha, to make such a difference to your community. Thank you.
Yeah. If you're here for the first time tonight and you want to join our mailing list, that's the next link that I put into the chat. And we do record these calls, as you heard me say at the beginning. And this is how you can get an access to today's recording. In a day or two, it'll be up on the website. You can either go to our YouTube channel or to pathwaystoliberation.com. And finally, Jory.
Maybe I'll do this too. There's a lot of stimulation that happens in our hearts, and maybe some confusion or pain, or just if you're wanting some more connection. You're welcome to use that link, joryyoucanbook.me, and we can spend some time together. If that would support you, I would be delighted to contribute to you. So there's the link, jory.youcanbook.me. All right.
Okay, and then the very last link is I wrote a book about a year and a half ago called Pathways to Nonviolent Communication. And you can probably get it shipped to you for free, no matter where you live. And that's the link to get free international shipping. And I think that's all our little announcements.
Did you put the name of the book in there?
Sure, I'll do that.
Yeah.
Next week, we will start working. We're going to take the final step in this, in working with power in relationships. And we're going to look at how to say no. And then we're also going to then start winding towards how to make agreements in your relationships. You got to be able to say both yes and no to be able to make agreements. So we've been laying the foundation for next week's class, which is all about making agreements. We have a special project in mind for next week that we will not reveal to you here, but it involves all of you. So you have a vested interest in coming next week as we work on some agreements together.
He's a good salesman. He's a good salesman, isn't he? He was a salesman when I knew him in younger years.
I told her I'm marrying me. That worked out. So it's the bottom of the hour now, and thank you all so much for being with us today. We always make new groups here at the end. I found a new strategy last week when you weren't here. If you want to stick around, there'll be a couple of groups available that you can hang out with a few other people, get some more empathy, do some more practice, whatever. And if you don't want to stay, that's also fine as well. We'll see you next week, and we'll talk about agreements. And I hope you have many, many needs met over the coming week. Aloha, everybody.
Aloha, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.